We're stacking hexes and drafting armies. That's right, it's Heroscape and the Age of Annihilation Master Set from Renegade Game Studios. In this tiered terrain tactical tussle, two players take control of armies, each comprised of epic heroes and fantastical squads. Over a series of rounds, they'll traverse the battlefield, take the high ground, and attempt to destroy the opposing forces to win the game. The master set here contains rules for a basic game and a master game. The basic game is a stripped-down introduction to Heroscape and features an easy-to-follow rule set starting on page 4 of the rulebook. We're covering the master game rules today, but don't let that intimidate you. They're not too complex. Just follow along with me, and if it still feels overwhelming, give the basic rules a try before you ascend to higher ground. Okay, setup begins with battlefield creation. Select a battlefield and scenario from the aptly named book. For your first game, choose the first battlefield, the Shattered Table. The diagram in the book provides a key for each level of the battlefield. Follow the guide one level at a time, starting from level 1 and working your way up. Choose a scenario for the map as well. We'll try scenario 3, the table shatters. The scenarios include a victory objective and additional setup. For this scenario, we need to place 4 glyphs on the map and construct some wall pillars. Glyphs are magical runes which provide in-game powers. More on those shortly. Next, players create their army. Some scenarios provide the army compositions, others allow you to use a pre-made or drafted army. We'll draft today, and the table shatters instructs us to draft a 400-point army. To start a draft, each player rolls a 20-sided die, and the winner chooses one army card and takes the matching figure or figures. The next player chooses 2 army cards. Then, beginning with the first player again, they take turns drafting one army card at a time until they reach the point cost limit, which is 400 in our case. Each army card has a points value on the bottom right. Additionally, they have a name and portrait, a general who they serve, their life total, which is the amount of wounds they can take before they are destroyed, values for movement, attack range, attack dice, and defense dice, special powers, and a number of keywords which may apply various game effects. After armies have been fully drafted, each player takes a set of 4 order markers, combat dice, and a 20-sided die. Follow the scenario rules for placing figures on the battlefield. Finally, create a supply of wound tokens nearby, and we're ready to begin. Gameplay occurs in rounds, each divided into 4 phases. Place order markers, roll for initiative, take turns, and move round marker. First up in the place order markers step, each player takes their 4 order markers and places them on top of their army cards. When placing, they ensure their opponent cannot see the numbered side. Players can put multiple markers on a single army card if they wish. These order markers will determine the timing for each army's movement and attack in the upcoming take turn step. They are numbered 1 through 3, and the 4th marker features an X, which is used to throw your opponents off. Next, in the roll for initiative phase, both players will roll a 20-sided die. The player who rolls higher takes the first turn. Then, in the take turns phase, each player takes a turn, starting with the winner of the initiative roll. On a turn, the active player proceeds through 3 steps: reveal order marker, move the figures on that army card, and attack with figures on the army card. The first step is super simple, just reveal that order marker. If it's the first turn, reveal the number 1 and activate that figure or figures. Then, in the movement step, that figure may move on the map. There are a number of caveats to movement, but here are the core rules. A figure can move up to their move value in spaces on the map. If there are multiple figures on an army card, then each figure can move up to that many spaces. A figure can move through friendly figures, but can't end in their space. They can't move through enemy figures. When a figure is adjacent to an enemy figure, both are considered engaged. Oh wait, they're like engaged in battle. Okay, they're engaged. Rawr! When engaged, those figures can only attack each other. And if they want to leave the engagement, the opposing figure will get a free attack. More on that in a sec. When moving onto spaces of different elevation, the moving figure must use one of their movement points to traverse up 1 level. For instance, if Doreen, the bulkhead brawler here, wanted to move to this adjacent space, he'd spend 1, 2 points to move up and a third point to move onto the space. Since he has a total move value of 5, he can move 2 more spaces, or 1 space higher. When moving down, the level changes free because of gravity. However, as you know, gravity can kill. If a figure moves down a number of levels equal to or greater than their height, they fall and roll 1 combat die, taking a wound if a skull is rolled. If the drop is 10 or more levels greater than the figure's height, it's considered a major fall, and they must then roll 2 additional dice for a total of 3 dice of potential damage. When moving onto a glyph, the figure stops moving, and the powers of the glyph take effect immediately. Some glyphs grant temporary powers, where others grant ongoing effects as long as you're standing on them. The powers of each glyph are described in the battlefield and scenario book. After moving, the figure then attacks. First, a player determines a target within range. The figure's range value determines how many spaces away from the figure their target can be in order to be attacked. If the value is 1, they can only attack targets adjacent to them. They then check for line of sight. Players may need to move around the board to check if a figure can see their target. If there's uncertainty, use the army cards diagram to start the line of sight from the figure's eye line, which is the little green dot, to the target's outline, anywhere in the red figure. Before rolling, the players should check for 3 things. Height advantage. If the base of one figure is on a higher level than the base of the other figure, the figure on the higher level has a height advantage and rolls 1 extra die for either attack or defense. Special powers or attacks. Many figures have special powers that help them move, attack, defend, and more. If an army card includes a special attack, which will have the word special attack in the name, you may use this attack instead of your normal one. And glyphs, some of which provide a combatant with an advantage. The players then roll the combat dice. The attacking figure rolls a number of dice equal to their attack value, and the defender rolls dice equal to their defense. The attacker counts the skulls they rolled, and the defender counts the shields that they rolled. Each shield offsets 1 skull, and excess skulls rolled equal 1 wound per skull. If the defender received any wounds, they apply wound markers to the army card. If the wound markers equal or exceed the figure's life total, they are destroyed. And that's the basics of a turn. After the last player takes their 3rd turn, play moves to the move round marker phase. If no one's won yet, just move the round marker ahead 1 space on the track in the scenario book. Players then begin a new round. One other note about engagement. We mostly covered this in movement, but if an engaged figure tries to leave the engagement by moving away, the opposing figure may make a leaving engagement attack. They roll a single attack die, and the leaving figure gets no defensive roll. If a figure is engaged with multiple opponents, they each get a single die roll against the leaving figure, so mind that when making your movements. Rounds continue with figures duking it out, getting hair stuck in their lip gloss. Rounds continue with figures duking it out, activating glyphs, and destroying their opponents. If the scenario's victory conditions are met, or the opposing player's armies are wiped out, the active player wins the game. And that's the basics, but not the basic rules, of Heroscape. There are some additional details on movement, rules, timing, and more, all easily found in the rulebook. I'm Becca Scott. This is Good Time Society, and if you want to see Heroscape played with 2 fantastic pros, check out our matchup pitting Matthew Mercer against Deborah Ann Wool, hosted by yours truly. There's a link in the description below, and while you're down there, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and come on back for more great games and good times. Bye-bye.